Welcome to the Copeland Coaching Podcast, where it's all about turning your job search into a slam dunk. Your host is Angela Copeland.
Welcome to the Copeland Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Angela Copeland. On the phone with me today, I have Madison Yen in Denver, Colorado. Madison's a photographer and brand strategist and the CEO of her company, Madison Yen Photography. Madison, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we are going to talk today about sort of our online brand, our presence, and if we're a job seeker and we are using LinkedIn, first of all, I know you would recommend that we get a photo, a headshot.
Yeah.
And I'd love to know sort of your do's and don'ts of the LinkedIn profile photo because it's just so important.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly like you said, I do recommend having someone professionally take your profile photo. You can definitely take your own photos, but they're not going to be, like the professional photographer look. But in terms of like some do's and don'ts of the photo, I recommend, that obviously you look professional. You're wearing clothes that you would actually wear to work, not to like a party. If you're using another photo, like if it's not a professional photo, definitely just make sure that it's just you in the photo and there's not any body parts that have been cropped out because it's like a group photo that you've just taken of yourself. So definitely make sure you're the only one. For the photo, I would also recommend like that you're looking at the camera and that your face takes up most of the box, the screen part. Definitely, you probably don't want too much of like a body shot because it's harder for people to see you and to kind of connect with that, the eye connection there. So yeah, I think those are the main things.
Do you think we should smile or no smile?
I think it depends on the message that you're wanting to give to the people that either to your customers or to potential employers. If you want to come across as like a super serious person and maybe like a higher up, like CEO, and you want to be taken really seriously, I think that you can definitely do maybe more of a closed mouth and solemn face, or not solemn, but like happy, but not like smiley. But if you want to look, very approachable, then definitely smile or like a little laugh, kind of, just something kind of a little bit more casual.
That makes sense. Well, so as you're talking, I was just thinking, I have different scenarios that I've seen over the years that always stick with me. One of them that seems super obvious is I've seen folks who put a photo like in their wedding dress.
Oh, yeah.
And you just said, wear something you might wear to work.
Yeah, I mean, because think about it, like, especially if you're looking for a job, you want to show potential employers, like, this is how I'm going to look when I come to work for you. Like, this is how I'm going to look for you. Definitely, wedding pictures are made for the wall in your house, and they're made for Facebook. So definitely keep those. I think that they're separate. Like LinkedIn is a separate platform, and respect the platform that it's a professional social media.
Yes. I also had a friend for a long time who had a picture as their profile photo for LinkedIn. It was a picture of them at a party, and I think they were wearing a suit. So that part was good.
Yeah.
But they had a date in the photo that you could kind of see partially.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't even someone they were in like a relationship with.
Yeah. No.
And I think you could tell the person that had been drinking because their face was like slightly flushed looking. And I was like, you have to take this picture down. Like it looks terrible.
Yeah. I mean, that's the number one thing is like, first off, I think your profile photo should be a photo of just you, period. And so that's step one. Step two, I think that it should be a photo of just you and there should be no other people who've been cropped out of the photo. All right. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to see half of a body of somebody else in the photo. And then step three, from there, I think you should be wearing professional clothes. Step four is like, you look like yourself. I mean, if you're rocking a photo that you took 20 years ago, you're not going to look the same. And so I think that's the most important part. People should not be surprised when they see you in an interview and you look totally different than your profile photo.
Yes, you make a good point. I mean, I know that comes up with like online dating whenever
Yeah.
people use super old pictures and they show up and the date feels like they've already been lied to.
Surprise.
Right. I mean, and even like say you look roughly the same age, but like your
Mhm.
hair color, you've changed it or something. Like
Yeah.
take a picture that looks like what you look like.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you need to get a new picture every 6 months or every year. I mean, obviously, it depends on, how your physical appearance changes if you are, like, changing your hair a bunch or something. But, like, for my LinkedIn photo, I've had it for maybe 3 or 4 years, but I haven't changed in the way that I look. Now, I used to have another photo that was 8 years old, and I looked significantly different, so I got rid of that and I updated it. So it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be like this yearly expense that you budget in. It just needs to look like you.
Mhm. Have you seen, I think especially because I originally started in sort of the world of technology, and I see this a lot with technology people, they have a drawing of themselves or like
I
a cartoon
have.
of themselves.
Yeah, I have seen that. And honestly, like those don't bother me. Again, it depends on the job that you're going for, the industry that you're in. I know that we're probably going to talk about this later, but if you are an accountant and you're in that's a very conservative industry, okay?
Right.
Very different from a marketing professional or a tech industry that's like on the forefront of, disruption and they're changing everything. Like, then sure, do something that fits your industry and just know that, so then your employees know or your employers know what they're going to get, and I think that's the
Mhm.
biggest point.
Mhm. I would say my one real pet peeve with LinkedIn profile photos is and there are a lot of men who've started putting pictures with their kids,
Ugh,
and I feel like they're trying to say, like, "I'm family oriented, like, I'm well-rounded," like, they're trying to send a
mhm,
positive message, and I get it, and it's uh, to those points, it's kinda cool, but a
mhm.
woman could never do that.
Oh,
Like
no,
like, a woman could
totally not.
never post a picture with her and her baby and think she's gonna get a job, and so
Yeah, I mean, it's a total double standard of like, look at all these things that I can do, and I'm, yeah, exactly like you said, family oriented. For a woman, it's almost like a threat of like, oh, how many days is she gonna have to take off work to take care of her kid or something like that.
Right.
It's like such a negative connotation. What I will say is, again, profile photo, just a picture of you, period. I do not want to change that statement at all. Any family pictures, like, save it for Facebook. And honestly, like, you can post something on LinkedIn with you in a family picture. Like, I think it's okay to show a personal side of you. Like, not everything has to be 100% professional, but there's a place for it. And that place is not your profile photo. That place could be more of like your posts that you do on LinkedIn or Facebook.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, you mentioned, like, in terms of the kind of job that you have might influence your picture. When we're thinking about what to wear, I mean, that's a really stressful thing for people
Yes.
to decide what to put on for these pictures.
Yes.
I mean, should we be in a business suit? Should we be really casual? Like, what should we look like?
I think it depends. So for the business suit, that's always a question. It's like, do you wear what you would wear to an interview for your profile photo? And I think it's totally like personal opinion. I mean, or personal preference. What works for you? Do you want to come across more professional? Throw on a tie. For women, it's a little bit different because I think that the clothes that we wear could be dressed up or dressed down pretty quickly with just some jewelry and a jacket or something. But for men, the main difference there is a suit jacket and a tie. I do think suit jackets look nice, and the tie just adds that extra like buttoned up layer. So it just depends on how you want to come across. Do you want to come across more casual? Then you can do just the jacket with a button up and then kind of opened. If you want to be more like way more professional than the tie. For women, I would say a business professional setting. I like just like nice blouses with some jewelry is usually like what I would recommend. Probably not a sweater, maybe a jacket or no jacket.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good.
And
I
then,
usually try to stay away from patterns. That's
yeah, definitely stay away from patterns. And then, like I said, I forgot that this was in the first part of your question, but yeah, if you're in more of like the tech industry role, and your whole thing is about wearing jeans and a t-shirt or something like that, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Like, I don't want to tell people, like, have this hard and fast rule that if you're getting your photo done, you have to be wearing a suit, because that's definitely not the case. If your whole environment around you is very much like jeans and a flip-flop kind of look, then go for that. And then and we can make that work. Like, I think any professional photographer can take that with the background that you choose, and it'll look good.
yeah. It makes me think of years ago. I interviewed at a company in Santa Barbara, California, that is like a high end women's all natural kind of clothing company. And
Hmm.
everyone there in the actual interview was wearing like Birkenstocks and like natural fiber, like fabrics. And
Hmm.
I showed up in a full on like heels and a business suit. And they were like, what are you doing? Like you don't fit in here. And I think
Yeah.
companies care a lot about that. So,
It's that corporate culture that they're trying to, you know, keep going.
right. And for me, like I'd gone to a college that talked about you always wear suits in interviews.
Yeah.
So
Things
I told her,
change. Like, it's not
yeah,
that much like that way anymore. So I totally get that.
yeah. Well, I wonder, are there certain colors that you recommend we wear in photos, or does it not matter?
I don't think it matters. I think really loud colors obviously say different things about you than just wearing like black. Black or white, that kind of thing. I also think it depends on your background, like what you're choosing. And just to go back to, wearing jeans and a t-shirt, I think that if you're doing something on a white, gray, blue background that's very typical for a headshot, I think that those kind of come across really formal, and then you put something really informal with it, like your t-shirt, and that it just seemed out of place.
Mm,
So what I would recommend doing is picking a background that fits, like it fits what you're wearing too. So if you're going to wear a business suit, then fine, you can do a background. But if you're going to do more of like a casual outfit, then I would suggest going out either to like a cool looking lobby, or just a modern place, or even outside. Definitely change up the environment to be kind of representative like what you're wearing. So then there's not like this weird break of formal and informal smashed together to make a weird picture.
yeah, that makes sense. I wouldn't have even thought about that very much.
Yeah, and so if you are going to a place where it's like all white and it's very like modern, hard lines white, I wouldn't, like, you could go two ways with it. You could go with like a really loud color, like a hot pink or something, and then it's like a weird contrast, and that kind of comes across a certain way. I mean, but I wouldn't wear like gray, you know. And so, just, I think you pick your background based on how the personality that you want. Like, all of it's based around your personality. So like, pick something that fits what you're going for. If you're going for like loud and artistic, then find a loud artistic place and wear loud artistic clothes. And then if you
Hmm.
want something just muted professional, then that's when you kind of get, it's kind of more traditional looking.
Yeah. Well, mostly like we've been talking about sort of the profile photo on LinkedIn, which is
Hmm.
really right up on your face.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
But
Hmm.
sometimes, especially in like executive level positions, not necessarily applying for a job, but like, working at a company, sometimes you need like a headshot,
Hmm.
like a full body picture or something that's a little more than just your face. I mean, do you have any tips for us on if we do need to get like kind of a stock image of ourselves, I guess you
Yeah.
could say, taken that we could use for media or, for bios or speaking engagements, whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, what should we know about sort of that bigger picture?
Well, definitely background is very important, because when you start incorporating your entire body, then it's like it's not just the bust up, and it's not just taking like a very small portion of it and then, figuring out what your background is. It's a lot more of the picture. So I definitely recommend finding a background that represents like what your actual job is. And I also recommend like incorporating some sort of props. And when I say props, I don't mean like not necessarily a coffee mug or anything like that, but I mean like a desk. If you're doing your office, then just by adding in a desk there, you have something now that you can sit on or lean on. And then that makes it less awkward for your like for your body just be like standing there. Cause I think a lot of times people have a really hard time just having nothing to do with their hands or their arms. They don't have anything to lean on, and that makes people really uncomfortable. So either even by having like a wall, I consider a wall to be a prop. Sometimes it's like something to lean on, something to put your hand on if you want. So yeah, that's a big thing in the background.
That's a really interesting point. Years ago, Michael Cardwell in Memphis took some photos of me
Oh yeah.
where like headshots. And in
Mm-hmm.
one of them, I was in front of a wall that was like textured
Mm-hmm.
and it had a really neat like feeling to it. And then another picture he took, it was at a desk and it was or like a table, but it was like wooden, but it had a glass top to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he took it, you could actually kind of see my reflection in the table. And it
Oh, that's
was
cool.
super cool picture. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Those kind of props, they really add to the photo because like it's not like an acting profile photo for you. Like, this is just your business shot and you kind of want it to incorporate with the environment. For acting shots, that's very much just you on a background and it's to show people your actual body, how it looks, and then they can decide if they want to hire you or not. Like it's just a
Mhm.
different situation for people who are in the business world,
Yeah, and I think like you were saying, like you don't want just like any prop. Like
Yeah.
I know when I first started Copeland coaching, I did a bunch of headshots for my website and they were so great. But I did some that I was like holding a basketball because Copeland coaching is like very sports oriented. And when
Uh-huh.
people would see it, they would be like, "Oh, is this like your college basketball picture?" And I'm like, "Oh, it doesn't work." um, so yeah, you got to think about what the props are.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, so there's tons of people who are looking for jobs right now because
Mhm.
just so many people have been laid off through the
Yeah,
pandemic.
for
And
sure.
yeah, I mean, if we find ourselves kind of in this situation where we're looking for a job, we weren't expecting to be looking, and we don't have a good LinkedIn profile, like what can we do at this point, given that we're all sort of locked up at
Yeah.
home?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that this is the time where you pull out the phone, and I'm not above using the phone. I used to have like this thing in my head where I was like, "Oh, it's not a professional camera." But at the end of the day, like you got to do what you got to do. And the phone is not it's not bad. It's better than a lot of point and shoots at this point. And so what I would recommend is you go stand next to a window and you take like just a selfie of yourself. Make sure that when you're holding the phone, you're up a little bit higher, like kind of maybe your forehead and tilted down. So not like super high where your head is like larger and then your body like dwarfs behind like below it. So just like a little bit higher than your eyes, tilted down just a hair, and then just smile and take a few shots there. That's what I would recommend. And if you have if you have a tripod, which I'm sure a lot of people don't just have that sitting around, but if you have maybe like a table or a desk that you can prop some books on, and then get the phone up a little bit higher, then you could just be sitting and take a nice little shot. I think a lot of times I've seen these shots where people just have a computer or something at their desk and they're like looking down at it, and then they just take this awful photo
Oh,
from their
yeah.
computer, and they're like looking down and it's kind of got like this double chin situation because it's like from a lower angle looking up at you. Like, guys, it's really the angle. You got to like raise it up a little bit. And so that's like my biggest thing. And then don't use like weird overhead lighting. Go in front of a window and take a picture that way. And turn off all the lights behind you. You don't need those. Just focus on the window light hitting your face. And that will get you so much further than, like canned overhead lights giving you weird shadows on your face. It's not as attractive. So those are my big tips.
Oh, it's really good. I noticed recently that with the iPhone, when you're taking pictures, they have a new setting or newish setting that's like portrait mode.
Yeah.
And it kind of blurs what's in the background a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool.
It's really not bad. And, I've taken some photos where like I'll go in front of a mural and then it'll be like cool different colors and everything. And then you've got the portrait mode on and things are just kind of a little softer behind you. That's what that means is the portrait mode, it kind of focuses on your face and then it blurs out the background. And then if you take that off, then pretty much everything would be in focus. So that's like the main difference. And those are kind of nice if you want to kind of upgrade the look without having to pay for a photographer. So yeah, definitely recommend that.
Well, speaking of paying for a photographer, are photographers working during the pandemic?
Well, yeah. So I think it depends on the kind of jobs, like weddings obviously are not really happening right now. And I think some family portraits are happening as long as you can socially distance. Headshots are probably happening as well, as long as you're not like right up in their grill, which you don't have to be. Anything outside, I think, is still a go. And anything inside is a little bit more up to their comfortability with
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and are you currently taking pictures still? Some?
Yes, I am. It's just, it's slow.
Yeah,
Slow out
sure.
there.
Right. Well, so say we've decided that we need help. We need to get a professional photographer.
Yes.
How do we even locate a photographer in our city if we've never done this before?
Well, straight up, I would Google headshot photographer or branding photographer. So branding is a little bit different than headshots in that branding is more for like your business owners or if for your personal brands and they want to show more pictures, and headshots just a really simple picture of your head and then that's it.
Right.
So it's a little different, but like definitely headshots would fall in that bucket. So you could do branding photographer, headshot photographer, or just you like if you're on Instagram, you could do hashtag whatever city you're in photographer. That's a big one too. So it just depends. And then like scroll through, find some photos that you like the style that you like, and then check them out. Contact them.
I like that you mentioned Instagram. Whenever I'm looking for a photographer, I love going to Instagram because you can see all their pictures. You can get a sense for their style. Like it's really nice.
It's so helpful because it's like their portfolio is just like laid out in front of you. You can see if you like the other shots that they take. And really, when you're searching by hashtag, and so I'm in Denver, so it'd be like hashtag Denver photographer, and you see all of these photos that come up, you can kind of pick the one that's like, oh yeah, I want a photo like that. And then you click their profile and then you see the rest of it. So that's nice. And if you wanted to get really specific, you could do, hashtag Denver headshot photographer or Denver headshots or, something along those lines. So I think that Instagram is a great way to visually like lay out what other photographers can offer you. And then you pick something that you actually like instead of Google where you have to go to each website, look through it, decide if you like it, all that stuff.
That makes sense. Well, so say we go to Instagram and we find like the perfect photographer and we're sure that this is who we want to work with and we email them or whatever. What do we need to tell them that we want, like to be sure that we get this really great profile photo for LinkedIn?
So I would just say like, hey, I'm looking for a headshot. What are your packages? And from there, like just see what they offer you. Now, I have a few different packages and I don't know, like I'm not exactly sure, like we never know what other people are doing, but I have like a shot that I call like the one and done. And it's literally 15 minutes of us shooting and you pick one photo and I retouch it and give it back to you. And if you're looking for just one headshot, like one profile photo, that's all you need. If you want to do like a whole session where you change outfits, which there are definite benefits to changing your outfits. I mean, just imagine Like in terms of clothing, sure, you can do things that go like all year round, which those are great because then your photos last all year round. But if you wanted to do maybe mix it up and do like a summer version and then a winter version, then you can kind of change your profile based on like the season. And then it always kind of looks up to date. So then that would be like summer colors or summer outfits. For guys, it'd be like lighter suits or, just something different versus like a sweater, that kind of setup, or even different colors like winter colors too. So something to keep in mind if you are doing a headshot session. Maybe like you could dress for the seasons, or you can just pick 3 solid outfits that are year round. It's totally up to you, but at least then it gives you a variety. So that's the benefit of doing multiple outfits that you can choose from.
That makes sense. As you were saying that, I was remembering back to when I first started my business and did those headshots that I mentioned. I actually used a professional makeup artist and also a professional hairstylist.
Oh,
And maybe
nice.
that's kind of extreme,
No, not at all.
but because it was to promote my business, so I wanted to
Yeah.
really
Put your best
look
foot forward. Yeah.
right. And so, of course, having different outfits made sense because you've already invested in the makeup and the hair.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how important is it to maybe get professional makeup and hair? I'm guessing it's not something you need to worry too much about.
I think that goes to your comfort level. I will say that um, just for me on like a personal level, when I got wedding pictures done, so I like had a really quick little ceremony in Memphis, and I just did my own makeup, and I had a few pictures, and then my husband and I decided that we wanted to like have our own ceremony in Lisbon. And then I hired a makeup artist for that. And my pictures look so much better.
Oh,
Yeah, like I think that a makeup artist makes a huge difference. Makeup artist and hair, honestly. If you don't really know what you're doing, which I fall into that bucket because I'm like, what? So I think that it depends on your comfort level. If you're the kind of person who never wears makeup, then maybe it's not as important. Just kind of do some foundation and call it a day. But I do think that makeup and hair does make a difference when it's professionally done and it looks good. It makes a difference for the photos because you take out shiny spots. It kind of helps with like wrinkles or age spots, anything like that. It just, I think makeup artists know how to make you look, better. And that
yeah.
sounds really bad, but it's true. So, and especially when you're doing a headshot, like you're going to have a retouched photo, meaning it's not just edited, but like we're taking out crow's feet and eye bags underneath, the eyes and everything. So we're taking out those things, but makeup just, it gives you a better photo to start with. So I'm definitely pro higher hair makeup. If you have the budget to, and you kind of already have someone that you like to use, don't go experimenting with a bunch of different people and then get crazy eye makeup and then you get this picture that you're now stuck with for a year or something. Like, don't do that. But that's
Well, so how did you find when you went to Lisbon for your wedding? How did you find hair and makeup there? Because I'm guessing you didn't have anybody like lined up.
hashtag Lisbon makeup artist.
No way, really?
Yeah, totally. Like hair makeup, yeah, on
Okay.
Instagram, because then you can kind of see like, and I saw a lot of the brides that she was doing. It was more of my style. It was like kind of light and airy. It wasn't crazy, dramatic stuff going on. And so definitely I would recommend hashtag your city makeup artist, and then see out of the people, try to pick people who are kind of in your age range. Like if you're 60 looking for a job, don't look at somebody where you're seeing a bunch of 30-year-olds and you're like, oh, I like that makeup. Like try to look for people who are kind of in your age range and see how they handle wrinkles and how they handle just that kind of skin. It's different and it looks different, and so you don't want you I mean, I just assume you don't want to be like a 60-year-old looking at like 20-year-old makeup where it's just a different vibe,
Hmm. Well, you mentioned also touching up the photos. So
Yes.
is that something we should expect from the photographer? Should we ask about it? Like, how does that work?
So I don't know if other I don't know where retouching stands on other photographers' planes, because I've talked to a lot of people who are very like, no, I don't do that. I don't know how to work Photoshop. And then I talked to other ones and they're like, yeah, that's definitely part of it. So just just know that editing and retouching are not the same things in photographer world. So when you're looking for a photo, be sure to ask, is this going to be retouched as well? And you're not going to receive 30 retouched photos. Like if you get a gallery of 30 images, those may be like color corrected and like cropped slightly. Like it might be like a good bare bones start, but they're not going to be like retouched images. That's going to be something totally different. And they might use words, they might not use retouching per se. It might be something like, you know, I'm trying to think, something like photo ready or like LinkedIn ready or something. You know, people, they like to kind of dress it up because you might not always know like what they're talking about. So
Right.
just make sure you're asking like, is this a retouch photo or is this just an edited photo? And can you tell me the difference of what that means to you? And I don't think that that's offensive because everybody defines it differently.
Okay.
And then also you're going to want to know, like if they're saying web ready images, usually that means that they're low resolution images. Okay, meaning that they're
Oh,
just ready to go on the website. All right, if they say print ready images, that means that they're high resolution images and they're ready to be printed. So those are two different things. And everybody's different, so just confirm all of that before you hire them, so that you don't want to get a gallery of low resolution images with no high res images and then you need something to print for maybe a pamphlet or whatever and you don't have that.
that makes sense. So if somebody does do like retouching,
Mhm.
is it like, are they going to whiten our teeth? Are they going to,
Yeah.
what are they going to do to us?
Okay, so I'll tell you what I do, and I try to keep it light because I want you to be like the best version of yourself. I don't want you to be like a whole new person where you've gone and like gotten plastic surgery and stuff like that. So I like to lighten underneath the eyes, so you kind of get rid of the eye bags. Lighten all wrinkles, so like crow's feet, the ones that are on your mouth, some age spots on the neck, like neck wrinkles, all of that stuff. I kind of just smooth it out. And you might like you'll still see them, but it's like way softer. So, and that's the whole point is like you don't want anything to be like super in focus because then that's when you see all the stuff. Like you don't want to see everything in like zoomed in, magnified. Like you just want it to be smoothed out a little bit. So yeah, I fix those. I might thin up a little bit, like the face, the neck area. That's
Okay.
everybody likes a little bit of that, but nobody
So you
wants
might
to
make us look a
know.
little bit more in shape. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
exactly. But like, you don't tell anybody that you just want them to just think like, oh yeah, I look like that. That's great. Because I will say that like a camera can be so merciless when it comes to adding on a few extra pounds. Just the shape of the lens, like the curve of it, it doesn't do us any favors. So yeah, I try to kind of tuck in a few things and just so you're not like, oh man, you know,
Mhm.
but it's not like super obvious, but it definitely makes a difference.
Okay.
And then
Well,
if you
so,
have any like weird, scars or anything, and I'll usually ask like beforehand, hey, is there anything that you're kind of self-conscious about or that if I am retouching, you would like me to get rid of? And so if they have like a mole or, a beauty mark or anything like that, then I'll just take those out. Otherwise I leave in the other things. So
that's really helpful. I'm sure people love it.
yeah. Well, the goal is that they're like, yeah, this is how I look on my best day. That's the goal that I want. So
That's
I still want you to look like yourself, but I want you to look great in the
Oh, that's
process.
good.
Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned low res images versus high res images and
Mhm.
these different things. Typically, when we work with a photographer, like, what are we buying? Like, do we get rights to the images? Like, are we able to save them to our computer and use them anywhere? Like, what happens?
Yes, usually you will get probably like a gallery of proofs of some sort. And those will be low res. They'll probably have watermarks on them, like little logos at the bottom or across the image. You pick out the one they want, and then you go home. Like I go home as the photographer, retouch it, and then send it to you as a high res image and a low res. And that's how I do it. Like you get both, two copies of the same image. One is low that you can just drop online, easy, ready for you. The other one's high, and then you can print those or use them, when you need like a larger file size. And then you get personal print rights with that. So that means that I still own the image as the creator of the image, but you own the image in that you can print it, use it for anything personally, but you cannot sell that image and make money on it. So if you were like a model and I did an image for you or something like that, and then you sold it to all these companies as like a stock photo, then I would have grounds to sue you because, that's my image and you are not supposed to make money off of it. Like I'm at least supposed to get a commission of some sort.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah. So that's typically the difference between a personal print use and a commercial use. And so if you plan on using that to make money in any way, and obviously if you own a business and use this for marketing, we know that those photos are used for marketing. And then this works differently for big companies too. Like, so if you're a large company and you hire me for like a shoot and you get one image from it, then maybe you have like a year's worth of usage. Like you sign off like a time frame of usage that you have, or you can use it for specific things and you have to get sign off on it. But if you use it forever, unlimited, then they can do whatever they want with that photo, make tons of money on it, and then you're just like left in the dust. So I think that's the main part that photographers want to like mitigate the risk for, or they just want to be like compensated for it. So, but for any personal use, like that's not a problem. Like you guys, you use your image on LinkedIn and promote yourself, your brand, all those things. Just don't put it on iStock photo and then make a lot of money off of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, so speaking of compensation, like when we're thinking about the LinkedIn profile photo, like we're thinking about the headshot, what is sort of the range of cost for that service? I mean, it's got to be big, I would think.
Well, yeah, the range is huge just because, like I said, you can go from like one image that's just a one and done 15-minute session. Then you can start adding on multiple images, like how many retouched photos, and that could be price per image. Then you can add on hair and makeup. Then you can add on different locations. So there's all these factors into it. That's pretty much going to boil down to the time that the photographer puts into it, and then like the extra services. So if you have hair and makeup, that'll be probably like an extra $150 fee or something like that. But if you're just looking for like a plain and simple, I can tell you, like, again, I'm not sure what other people charge, but I can tell you for my one and done headshot, it's $165. And that's for 15-ish minutes, 15, 20 minutes, one spot, one outfit. You get a gallery of proof of watermarked images, and you pick one picture, and then I retouch it and I send it to you. So that's all that you get. And then if you want to add on more, then it's like a price per extra retouched file.
That's great. I think, I know this from also being self-employed, is that sometimes people think, oh my God, that's a lot of money. But, as a photographer, you're spending a ton of time like getting to where the person is, retouching, going through all the pictures. And also you have to pay to like keep your lights on too.
Yeah. Well, and also the knowledge too. Like I've been shooting images for 7 years, and then I know exactly how to pose you and move you around so you're not kind of just awkwardly standing there. There's like all of this experience that goes into it. So it's not just like, oh, you get one photo and then that's it. Like the whole experience that you're getting, that it's different from if you're holding your phone and taking your own photo. So it's just a different kind of, it's a different service that you're offering.
Right. They're not just paying like their next door neighbor to snap a picture. There's a whole background of education and all the things that go into that one picture. That so I think we should be aware of the fact that that's not unreasonable. So let's talk a little bit beyond sort of pictures, because I know, you work on branding in general,
Hmm.
and what we do online is a big deal. I mean, online
Yes.
brand, people, when you're interviewing, people Google you and
Hmm.
look at what you're sharing. I wonder if you have any general tips for us about our online brand as we're job searching.
Well, okay. So I guess, let's see. When you start out actually like Googling, like just Google your name, for example, all right, and see what pops up. And if it's, your Facebook page and you've got a lot of crazy photos where you're doing things that maybe you don't want employers to see, like obviously you want to clean those up. I mean, I think first it starts with like a self audit. So where do you stand right now with your personal brand? And then if you're working a business, then your name should come up as your business name. You should like you should have your own website that goes to it, and then the photos that you have in there. So I think first off, see where you're at, decide where you want to go with your brand. How do you want to come across? And then find those photos, that content that's out there that doesn't align with where you want to go, and then start taking those out of the photo, taking those out of the picture, and adding in what you want in there. That's
That's really smart. Yeah, I think starting with Googling yourself is huge.
yeah.
I
You
think
have to
also,
see what's out there,
yeah, I worked with a client years ago who had a relatively common name, and there was someone else in the same city where that client lived who had been arrested quite a lot,
Oh my goodness.
um, who didn't look terribly dissimilar from this person.
Oh no.
And right. And so there were tons of mugshots that would come up like
Oh my
immediately.
goodness.
And if you find that there's someone else with your name that's doing things that you are not a big fan of, I
Mhm.
mean, one thing you can do is create like additional content, like
Yes,
new
absolutely.
content, try to get Google to pick it up. Now, I know it's a lot of work, but if it's that or mugshots,
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know,
Well, and it depends on what kind of job you're looking for and the dedication that you want to put into it. But you honestly, in my own opinion, you need to own your name, period. So like for me, I have madisonyen.com. I've got Madison Yen on Facebook and LinkedIn. Every single platform that I can possibly find is going to be Madison Yen. And so like if you have a pretty common name, I would look into purchasing, URLs and stuff that it can at least add you to that list instead of getting mugshots. And like you said, like you can add in your own URL and then do just like a basic resume on there. If you're, an employee, or if you are looking to do your business, then at least you own that name and no one else can get it. So that's that's a big recommendation for me.
I agree 100%. And if you've never bought a URL, websites like GoDaddy.com
Hmm.
are a good spot to start. Like
Yes.
it's something like $10 a year, you can buy a domain name,
Yeah.
um, and start to have content that Google might pick up and actually, rank when
Yeah.
people search for you.
And just think about like the credibility that you're adding to your name when, say, you're in the marketing field and you actually have content that you've created on marketing, and then people are looking for somebody like, I mean, they're looking for go getters. They're not looking for people who are just going to sit there and collect a paycheck. And so
Mhm.
I think that anything that you can add to your name in terms of content through your industry is only going to help your brand, your personal brand. Because believe it or not, like everybody has a brand. It's their personal brand. It's just how tailored or how customized are you going to make it to how you want to be in your professional life?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Madison, this is so helpful. I mean, I get questions all the time about, do I need a profile photo and how do I do it? So I really appreciate you sharing. Where can we go to learn more about you and your work?
Thank you. Yeah, no, I've loved being here. You guys can definitely go to madisonyen.com. And I actually have like a course on taking your own brand photos. So if that's something you wanted to look more into in the future, that is available for you. Otherwise, I'm on Instagram at Madison Yen, at Madison_Yen, at Madison Yen Photo. I own all of them. Okay.
Perfect. Well, we'll be looking you up. Thank you so much, Madison. It's been great to talk with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed the episode today, please don't forget to help me out. Go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe to the show. The more subscribers we have, the easier it is for other people to find the show. The Copeland Coaching Podcast is hosted by me, Angela Copeland. The show is edited by Daniel Lynn. Our media manager is Jennifer Strafacci. You can find more episodes of the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening. I'll see you soon.